Up next is the brow area. No one freak out. Don't run away screaming. Let's learn about this together. To me, brows are something that is so important to the way our entire face looks. It gives us an overall look of health and wellness, believe it or not. Nice, full, thick brows are obviously very in right now, but so many times, lots of us don't have very many brows. So what do you do? What are some things we can do? So let me tell you sort of what happened to my brows over the years. Yes, I was one of those who plucked and tweezed way too much. Went through lots of different stages where brows were super thick, like Brooke Shields, and then brows were super thin. So, we've all kind of been there and done that. But I also had a thyroid condition, and a lot of times what happens when you do have a thyroid condition is that you will lose the outer portion of the brow hair that you have, and that's exactly what happened to me. Now I've got that taken care of, so I'm good there. But what I will say, what I learned over that period of time was how to really draw some brows in, okay? And then I also have been trained in micropigmentation, and so a lot of times I'll have ladies come to my office and we will place tiny, tiny little hairs through micropigmentation, and that is actually something that will stay with them, so they'll be able to see exactly where their brows are. If they want to add a little pencil, a little powder in there, they can do all of that. So there's lots of different choices that you have. But let's say you just want to use makeup to fill your brows in. So let's talk about how do you do that. Now with e.l.f., they have lots of different types of products, which I love because you can have pencil, you can have powder, you can have a gel, you can have a wand that actually helps to lift up the hairs themselves. So it's totally up to you. It's your decision on what you want to do. What I want to help you today with is placement. Now, anytime that you're looking at the face structure, what you want to do is look at 3 points to do your brows. And I'm actually going to be using just this e.l.f. brush. Love it. It's a nice little slanted brush on one end, and then there's a spoolie on the other. But I'm going to use this to sort of show you how I mark things. So you start out at the very inside corner of the eye, okay? And I'm going to just place a little mark there. Make sure it's very straight. Okay, that's where my brow is actually going to begin. Okay, so you can see that tiny little mark there. Again, I'm going to do it on the other side. Okay, then on the outer portion of your eye, where do they end? You're going to use the corner of your nose, the corner of your eye, and that is where your brow is actually going to end. Okay, so corner of the nose, corner of the eye, and there's where my brow is going to end. So let's put a mark there. Again, corner of the nose, corner of the eye, brows ending here. Okay, same thing on the other side, corner of the nose, corner of the eye, and you may want to do it kind of like we did the other area there. And there's where your mark is going to be. Okay, so the highest point, which will be where your arch is created, is going to be the outer portion of your iris, and that is where your highest point will be. So let me mark that for us. And I have to look straight on, and that's going to be the highest portion, so right in there. Okay, so we have those marks there of where that's going to be. Then we're going to go in, and here's one of the products that I do like to use from e.l.f. There's several different ones. Let me show you a couple. This is the brow powder and brow wax. Works really, really good. A lot of times people do like to use this one. Then there's also one I love to use, and bravo for e.l.f. for putting a sharpener within the pencil. It actually has 2 portions, and I do use this one a lot. It's got a highlighter on one side, and it's got a pencil on the other. Now, I like to start out with the highlighter portion of this, and we want to put some definition under the bottom of the actual brow itself, and that gives a nice highlight. It also gives a really pretty positioning on the brow itself. So you will just take that and run that right underneath the lower portion of your brow. So you can almost see that little line there that I'm creating, okay? And then we're going to smooth that out in just a few minutes. But again, we're going to go back in, making sure to go right underneath that brow line. So you can see those crazy two lines there. Again, we're going to soften them out, so it's going to be fine. And then I'm going to take the darker portion of this pencil, and then I am actually going to put that color on the end of the brush. And then, again, I'm going to go in, and I'm going to start filling in. Now, on your brows, this front area, we want it to be a little bit lighter. We want a little more definition in the center, okay? And then you don't want to quite fade it out. You want this to be a little darker too, because that gives a lot of nice definition on the outer portion of the face. So again, lighter here, so we're very softly going to take some little fine hair strokes and going through that brow area. And I actually just picked up a little bit of that powder. And define the most right underneath. Okay, that's the most definition that you want to have, is just underneath. And again, the positioning of that dark to light is what really gives a nice height and lift to the eye. Okay, and again, we're going to work through. We'll take those little marks off in just a moment. But do you see how I'm making those short little choppy strokes even on that outside corner? Then go in with your spoolie, and that is what is going to soften up in that area where the hairs are. Now, another thing that I have to work with is that I have some hairs that have turned gray, and obviously having blonde hair my entire life, I'm going to have lighter brows anyway. So you may want to have them put a tint or dye on that. Do that professionally. But this is from Rimmel, and it has just a little bit of a very thin consistency. It's almost like, again, like a mascara, but it's got a nice little wand. Several different companies make this. These really help when you have those crazy little hairs that are just not the right tone. But you can just go right in with that and just place that. It also helps to set those brows too. But that helps me when I have those crazy ones that are, and you know, you don't want to pluck those. Don't pluck those brows. You really want to keep them. That's important. Okay, so let's take off the portion that we marked with on. Okay, and then we're going to soften that area where we put the highlighter. Okay, so very nice, and then we'll finish on the other side. Now, if you have some brows that are a little bit crazy like I do, I've got some here, look how long they are. Are you seeing that? You can go in with scissors, and I just have some scissors, just hair cutting scissors, and I just go in and lift those up, and then just very carefully go across and trim that down. And let me just say this. Wives that have those husbands with the crazy brows, help the men out. It's sort of like, you know, we got to help each other out here. Let's help the men out with their brows when they get a little crazy. And again, we're going to come in and just soften where we put the highlighter. Okay, so brows are done. Time for shadows.